So we've got Rich Brady, who's Managing Director of Denby Army Surplus up on the industrial estate there in Denby. Rich is a qualified engineer who took a career break after completing his modern apprenticeship. And he spent time in the French Alps and also Australia, so it sounds very pleasant, learning to snowboard and scuba dive, using the hospitality industry to fund his travels. On his return, his dad gave him a job building the company's first e-commerce website. It was supposed to be short-term, an opportunity to clear some travelling debts, but Rich has never left. Now he's been charged with running his parents' successful 30-year business, and it's up to him to keep it going for another 30 years. And with a clear parental message, please don't screw it up. Rich, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for the introduction, and thanks too for asking me to come. I really appreciate that. And I just wanted to congratulate you all as well for making the effort to come. Business isn't easy. There's a lot of people struggling out there, but it's getting harder and harder for those that aren't prepared to step up and make changes. So the fact that you've all got up early, I know the bacon butty sweetened it, but to come out and have a look to see what else is going on, and to try and maybe go back and make those changes, then yeah, you deserve a pat on the back. January 2017 was quite a dark time for me. We borrowed a significant amount of money to invest in a project. We'd taken on a second premises to push that project forward, and so it didn't drag on. But sales took a dive, cash flow got really tight, and as directors we invested our own money to try and just keep us going a little bit. I was injured as well, so I wasn't doing anything physical, which makes me really grumpy git. So it was really quite rubbish, to be honest. But worse than all of that, I got pulled into minute operations within the business. I was firefighting daily. I was desperately trying to find a sale here, there, and everywhere. I'd stopped finding time to work on the business, and I was very much in it, and that's not where I wanted to be. Glyndŵr University reached out to me because I'd done a bit of work with them before. Andrew Hall came out to tell me about the North Wales Business Academy, and I said, yeah, that's great, but I really can't justify the time at the moment. So there's quite a bit of to and fro in. There was a little bit of fobbing off from me, saying, yeah, I'll do it. But the project paid off like we thought it was going to pay off. Things got a bit easier, time got a bit less kind of precious, and I committed to coming on to the NWBA and the 2-day strategic business analysis. Before I go into how that process has helped us, I wanted to talk to you a bit about our history and where we've come from. So we're almost 30 years old. My parents started the company in 1988. I was 7. My dad was a teacher, my mum was a florist, so the obvious next step in their career path was to start selling second-hand army surplus. And at the time, the MOD had monthly auctions, so anybody could turn up and bid on stuff. So Dad went away with £500, and he came back and he filled up our front room with, the old itchy woolen shirts that the army were issued, and the master bedroom was full of the old itchy woolen jumpers. The garage was full of boots. Which made for an interesting gas meter read when they came around to do that, because there's no way you can't see it. And my mum and dad slept on a mattress in the box room. There was a little sewing machine set up in the master bedroom, because at that time the MOD put a knife through absolutely everything they disposed of. So all of those shirts, all of those jumpers had a big gash in the back. So Mum would stitch that up, and then Dad would drive around North Wales and sell these clothes to builders on building sites. It was at that time of sort of recent history where there was lots and lots of development going on, lots of housing estates being built, so he started to sell them to freezing builders. Mum got fed up of sleeping on the floor in the box room, as you can imagine, so they rented an industrial unit on the industrial estate in Denby, which gave them more space to have more stock and repair more work, and they were spending quite a bit of time there that they ended up opening up as a resale premises as well, so they were doing the Sunday markets. Dad wasn't driving around so much, and then they had customers coming through the front door. And it was successful. A couple of years later, they bought a property further up the industrial estate, bigger, with more land around it, and that's where we operate from today. As Steve mentioned, I came in initially short term. I vowed when I was at school there was not a cat in hell's chance I was ever going to work with my parents. We did it in school. When I was at school, there was a part-time job there. Dad sacked me and I quit more times than we care to remember. But yeah, I came back, had a bit of travelling debt. I was looking for engineering work, and Dad gave me this e-commerce software and he said, look, do that in the time being. And I really enjoyed learning how to code and build and tweak websites. Had a bit of a knack for it, so as well as working for them a couple of days a week, I freelanced as a web designer for a few years, helping out other small businesses. But about 6-7 years ago, I said, what about me coming in full time? It was at a time where social media was starting to be used for business a bit more, so they said, well, all right, we'll give it a go. So we launched a YouTube channel and a Facebook account, and we really started driving our traffic to our eBay shop at the time and our website. And e-commerce now accounts for about 70% of our turnover. Dad's adamant that if we hadn't gone down that route, then we'd have been out of business a long time ago. And then in 2013, we launched another brand called Recruit Packs. And we basically supply military recruits with all the stuff that they need for phase 1 training. We were approached in 2012 by a guy called Roger Snaith, who used to be a recruiter in Real Careers office. And he said, have you ever thought about putting packs together for recruits? I'm like, well, no, we get the odd one coming in buying polish or boot brushes, but we've never looked at the process as a whole. So I spent about 15 months researching and developing it, and we sold 37 packs under Denby Army surplus. And then what we found was that people thought they were going to get second-hand surplus items in there, so we wanted to completely separate the two businesses. So we worked with a company called Burning Red in Cardiff, and they developed the Recruit Packs brand. That was launched in September 2013. We turned over £24,000 on that brand in the first 7 months and supplied 3% of the British Army's recruitment quota for that year. So it was a really good start. And I focused on that solely for 2 years. But then in 2015, my parents made me MD. So my focus now wasn't just Recruit Packs, it was Denby Army surplus, it was Recruit Packs, it was HR, it was accounts, it was trying to exit my parents from the business. So we haven't hit our full potential on either brands really, because I'm spread so thin. But I know that there's mileage in both of them. I just need to build that team and build that capable team around me to move that forward. We are dirty and we are ugly. I still, to this day, don't know. Can anybody tell me what that is floating in that box? Yeah, an empty can of Stella. I still don't know how it ended up in our yard. And I was so shocked by it, I took that picture. And then I thought, oh, I'll run a bit of a test. And I waited to see which one of our team members would do it and put it in the bin. And I waited a few days, and it was still there, and then a few weeks. And I think it got to about 4 or 5 weeks ago, this is a joke. So I put it in the bin. But that highlighted a huge problem that we've got, and is that my workforce, and I include my parents in that, are proud about where we are, because if they were, they'd have seen that and they'd have put it in the bin straight away. We've got an uneven car park, the shop is dark, we've got storage containers that are dark, there's pallets littering the place, we're too hot in the summer, we're too cold in the winter. We're dirty and we're ugly. We've got no strategy, we had no defined goals. But we did have values, and until recently those weren't written down, we don't communicate them, but those are values that my parents had instilled in the last sort of 29 years. So family comes first. This is the foundation block, the cornerstone really of our company. Mum and Dad stepped out of their careers to have more flexibility, great control over their work-life balance, and to give me and my brother the awesome childhood that we had. And that's one of the reasons why I came into the business, really, because she's 6 years old now, but I came in full time just before we found out that Brady was pregnant. And I've got that flexibility. I can walk her to school, and then I walk up to work with the dog. If she's got a sports day, I can go. If she's ill, I can stay at home with her. But I don't want that just for me, I want that for my team as well. So if anybody's got an ill relative that needs to take to a doctor's appointment, or they've got a sports day or a Christmas concert, I don't want those times to be an issue of taking time off. I just want to go, well, Rich, this is happening. All right, okay, see you in an hour or so, rather than making that big issue. Doing the right thing is the right thing to do. There's an argument to be said that people's morals are slightly different, but fundamentally, we all know right from wrong. And if we're making decisions that take advantage of other people or promote yourself over other people, then that, for me, that's the wrong decision. And the reason for communicating these values, internally and externally as well, is I want my team to be comfortable and confident in making decisions. So I've called these our truths. We'll get through them all in a moment, but if they are confronted with a decision to make, as long as they make that decision in line with these truths, then it's not the wrong decision. And I want them to have ownership of that. I've got quite a young team. If you take my parents out of it, we've got 3 members of staff, 2 work experience guys with us. They're all under 25. And I don't think they've ever been given that responsibility. They've never been given that authority to go out and make decisions. So I want to kind of empower them, because I'm fed up of making all the decisions. You alluded to it before. Yeah. You know, you've got people coming, oh, can I do this, can I do that? Make a decision, as long as it's in line with our truths, and you've got my backing. Mistakes can be good, and that's to kind of reinforce that. I don't want them to be afraid of making a decision. And that if it's made for the right reason, it doesn't work out, then we can learn from that and we can evolve and be better moving forward. Solving problems and helping people makes good things happen. This is actually quite a selfish one of our values, because I get a real buzz from helping people, and so I'm a problem solver at heart, and I go out of my way to help people. So this is great, isn't it? From a PR point of view, this is one of our values, but actually it makes me feel quite warm and fuzzy inside, so it's more selfish than perhaps you'd think. And speaking up changes things. I want my team to be confident saying, actually, Rich, I don't think that was the right thing and the right thing to do, or we didn't quite help that person out as much. I want them to feel confident enough to call us out and keep us in check. And our peers, our partners and our customers, now that we're publishing these values, they're empowered now to say, hang on a minute, Rich, you're publicising this, but then you've just done that. Right, yeah, keep me in check and we'll move forward. And you can have fun at work. We're quite a relaxed workplace. We have a laugh, we have a joke. And if any of you could come in, and you will see that quite evidently. And you're more than welcome to come in and have a look. We are dirty and we're ugly, but we're quite a nice place to be. So you can have fun at work. And you can make money by doing good. Recruit Packs kind of alludes to that a little bit. Yes, we supply products that military recruits need, but we're not just providing them products. We're saving them a massive amount of time and taking a lot of hassle out of quite an emotional process for a lot of our customers on the Recruit Pack side. They're under 18 and under 20, the first time they're leaving the family home, their first real job. That's quite an emotional and difficult experience for them and their parents. Wandering around the high street or searching on the internet for days and days looking for products you've never even heard of is a hassle they could do without. And it's also a reason why I've asked Maya to come on today, because she runs a fantastic social enterprise in Denby. But she's so bogged down with trying to fund it that she's finding it difficult to execute on the great work that she does with carers. So I want to try and make that partnership a bit closer so that we can actually, and I'll wrap that up at the end, so that we can actually generate that income for you and you can just work on just being awesome for carers. And today can be a good day. Bad things are happening, but they're not happening as much as the media portrays it. Guys, that makes good telly, good news, but there's a lot of superb and wonderful things happening out there, and if you go out there and look for it, you'll realise that actually we live in quite a spectacular and beautiful planet. So, armed with those values, I enrolled in the North Wales Business Academy. And I didn't do it because I need academic credit. I didn't do it for professional development. I'm MD of my own company, so other than retiring, there's kind of no next step. I did it because I desperately needed to spend some quality time on analysing where our business is now, where I want it to be, and finding a path through that and navigating that gap. I needed a clear vision, and I needed to start communicating that internally. So that my team around me knew where we were going and they could understand better the kind of targets and the roles and responsibilities I was giving them. In those 2 days, I was reminded of two processes for analysing that, and that was PESTLE and SWOT. So that for those of you that don't know, PESTLE is to look at external factors that are impacting your business now and in the future, and so political, technological, social, environmental, and there's a couple of others, I can never remember them. And then SWOT, so that's an internal look at your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities and your threats. And I thought, you know what, I'm an inclusive boss, I'm a good leader, I will open this out to that team around me, and I'll get them, because I can't think of everything, and I won't think of everything, and I'll get them involved. And I got no buy-in. Nobody fed back, not even my parents, the fellow directors. I didn't get anything, which was quite demoralising, and kind of underlined one of our weaknesses, and that's that I'm struggling to engender that feedback from our team. But I ploughed on, because today could be a good day. And I finished our vision. So by 2025, we're going to be manufacturing strong, tough and resilient products and provide services that solve the world's problems. We've been selling strong, tough and resilient products for the last 29 years. We know what goes into them, we know what customers like. But we're beholden to suppliers and supply chain that don't carry any stock. The surplus kind of supply chain is very erratic anyway. You can never get what you want when you want it or in the size that you need it. And also the quality control from suppliers is terrible. Because they never have to see a proper customer, because no one's going to come back to them with a pair of boots and say the sole's fallen off. They'll come to me. So we need to be in greater control of our destiny, so we're going to start manufacturing. Our mission is to nurture resilience, and that's nurturing resilience within ourselves, our team, their families and our communities around us, not just in the products and services that we provide. I want to build something that's still going to be around in 1,000 years. And then I defined our goals. In amongst all of this kind of transition period, my coach, if anybody is in business and they don't have a business coach, I highly recommend it. It's been really, really beneficial. She tasked me with, she said, oh Rich, you're doing this piece of work for the SBA. Can you put an extra sheet in there just for me, putting where you want to be when you're 50, how do you see the business when you're 50? And I kept it in because it's now our goals. So I want to be the best employer with beautiful workplaces, a proud workforce, an annual conference, a thriving high street in Denby. I want to manufacture locally and sell globally. I want an EU base of operations and sustainable community projects in both of those locations. Flexible working across the group, I want to pay the actual living wage across the board by 2020. We also have a strategy now, and we also have tactics, but I can't tell you those today because I haven't communicated that to our team yet. They are going to receive a similar but a little bit more in-depth presentation soon, and once I've rolled that out internally, I can roll that out externally as well. That's going to be probably in January, because we're recruiting at the moment for another team member, and the shortlisted candidates, I want them to be there for that presentation because I want to be quite open and say, look, we are dirty and ugly, but look at where we're going to go to. And then that will weed out. They might selectively say, actually, you know what, I don't want to work in somewhere that's too cold in the winter at the moment, and that's not me. So once I've given that presentation internally, then I can start sharing that externally. The one thing I can tell you is that I'm dropping the use of the word army surplus. That's all we're known for at the moment, but we're so much more than that, and we've got so much more planned, and it's actually going to play quite a small part of our future. So I'd like you to introduce to our new company, which is Brady Global Limited. So I changed the name of the company's house a couple of months back, and we're going to be the future of retail, and we're going to be involved in VR, AR. I'm looking at drone delivery for local. We're going to rival Amazon on that, 3D printing, and we're going to do that with our sub-brands. So we're still going to keep the DAS brand. It's going to probably be switched over to something like DAS Outdoors, so we're not pegged into that kind of army surplus area. We'll have recruit packs, which, as I mentioned before, we can grow and make that much more than what it is at the moment. Back to what it was like when I was focusing on it, for 2 years solid. We're launching another brand next year called Malmo International, and that's going to be a power fitness brand. Our flagship product in that is the tug of war boots that we manufacture at the moment under Denby Army surplus. But because of where the supply chain has changed, I'm having to double the price per boots, and I don't think the market can take it coming back and buying that from an army surplus company, much like the conversation we had earlier about recruit packs, people thinking it was second-hand army surplus. So if I'm doubling the price of these boots, people want a bit more reassurance than that, so that'll be Malmo International. And then the fourth brand that I want to launch is going to be a military fashion brand, which with a vintage edge on it as well, and a massive social heart, and that's what I want to use to generate revenue to support social enterprises like Mary Day and the Prize got. So if you're here from a business and you're looking for access to other modules, or you're looking for career development, yes, you could do the North Wales Business Academy for that, but that shouldn't be the reason why you do it. You should be doing it because actually it can make an extreme difference to your company, and you can spend some real time analysing what you're doing, and completely, in the last 6 months, have completely sort of worked out, right, yeah, this is where we're going, and that's what we need to do to get it. And then as soon as I've communicated with the team, and they've got their goals and their targets, then their self-esteem is going to increase. Because at the moment, they come in day to day and they're just fighting fires, and that's quite demoralising because they can't see any progression. But once we've got those targets in, and that strategic sort of plan, everybody's going to get lifted up. So it's all about behaviour change, and which is what you mentioned. Don't do it for academic credit, but do it because you actually want to make a difference. So thank you very much for your time. If you've got any questions, then please fire away. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day.